The Hunter Biden plea deal, a federal judge still has to sign off on this. That's apparently going to happen in July.
And joining us now for more is criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and adjunct professor of law at Cornell University, Randy Zelin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Randy, good to have you back. This from the New York Post a day ago. All the crimes that Hunter Biden's ridiculous plea deal missed. Bear with me for a moment while I run through this. This is from Jonathan Turley. First, no one can explain why it took 5 years for the investigation of 2 minor tax counts and a gun allegation. Hunter also never faced any charges after videotaping himself engaged in interstate violations involving a host of prostitutes and drugs. There is also a glaring omission of any charge under FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Hunter seems to have been simply given a pass. Your reaction to what Republicans are calling maybe the sweetheart deal of the century for the president's son?
Sure. Let me work backwards from Professor Turley's comments. First of all, no lawyer worth his or her salt would have a client in a federal case, last name Biden or not, enter into a plea agreement and leave silent other charges. If the FARA violations, the pay for play, the corruption, if all of that stuff was going to be covered in this plea agreement, then I would tell you it's the deal of not the century. It is the deal of all mankind.
Just want to
It's not in there.
Yeah.
It's not in there.
So, too, his attorney was interviewed the other day, and they asked about the laptop, and they said, did you have to use the laptop at all? He's like, no, I don't recall. How does an attorney not recall? And why didn't they have this laptop?
Well, my sense of it is that the laptop, the FARA violations, the pay for play, that's another U.S. Attorney's Office, another district for another day. I think Hunter Biden's attorneys were presented with an opportunity.
That's not what his lawyer said, though. His lawyer said yesterday that he believes that this is a wrap, that this is it, that as part of the negotiation, there's going to be no FARA. Look, Hunter was on the board of Burisma, right, in Ukraine. You have to register with FARA in order to do that. He never did that. That's a felony. Was that part of the negotiation here?
I don't think so, because if I were representing Hunter Biden, there's no way in God's green earth I would leave that out of the agreement. I would insist that it's in there because plea agreements are contracts and they're enforceable like any other contract. And believe me, that contract says this doesn't cover anything else that's not in the agreement. So no, I don't believe that the FARA and the corruption and the bribery stuff, I don't believe that that is covered by this plea agreement.
Yeah, Randy, talking to legal experts over the last few days, they said, the gun charge and the tax charge too, that could hold jail time. And we know people who have served time in jail up to 3 years for the similar gun charge. If his name wasn't Biden, do you think maybe he'd be serving time in jail?
No, let's unpack this and let's play it down the middle. And again, I've handled many of these cases. I have negotiated many tax pleas, many misdemeanor tax pleas. That's number one. Number two, oftentimes when someone's offense conduct, their criminal offense conduct is tied to drug addiction, we're able to resolve cases favorably for a client where we can show, but for the drug use, this offense conduct would not have happened. There are alternatives to incarceration. There are drug courts. There are diversion programs. What he was offered to resolve the gun charge, because clearly that was tied to his drug addiction. Yeah. That is a standard.
You can't, but because he was a crackhead, that doesn't give him immunity from committing serious crimes. And I don't like that narrative, because think about the tax thing, for example. If everybody that did drugs in this country, by the way, drugs that are illegal, crack illegal, right? If everybody that did drugs in this country didn't pay their taxes, Uncle Sam wouldn't have any money. Okay, so I don't like that argument that just because he was on addiction, he was addicted to drugs, and we've got to be so sensitive to that. Please, he committed serious crimes. Just final question. You really believe that if his last name was not Biden, he would not be doing jail time here? That he'd be treated absolutely the same?
What if he was Trump?
If his last name was Trump or his last name were Smith?
Well, I think if his last name was Smith, he probably wouldn't have been prosecuted at all.
What about Trump?
Again, I think if Donald Trump actually did what he was supposed to do,
not Donald. If this were Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka, one of Trump's kids.
Nope.
This was Barron.
Nope.
All right, Randy, thank you so much for being with us this morning, breaking that down for us. Let's